Come on in, welcome to my home. Today we are going to start the first video of the year off by making our lives easier and making my home comfortable. That's my whole goal for this year, is to make my life easier and to make my home more comfortable. And how I thought I'd start this off with is like scheduling. I know a lot of you are looking at this going,
but what does that have to do with anything?
Well, it has to do with everything. If you go into things planning out what it is that are the big events that you're going to have to deal with, you are going to make your life so much easier. You're going to have such an easier time because you're going to look at your calendar and be able to say,
I have a big event coming up and I need to do this and I need to then do all of that stuff and then I need to do this and then I need to do this.
Well, that's great, but a lot of people overlook something. You know what that something is? That something is the process of breaking down your bigger event into smaller manageable pieces so that way it's not going to be overwhelming, because I have no idea what this year is going to be like none whatsoever. Are we going to have supply chain problems? Don't know. Are we going to have any other sort of problem? Don't know. But I need to plan for this as if we're going to, we need to plan ahead. Because last year I ran into a few problems with things that I really wanted to get for my home and I never did get. There's a light back there that I need to get. Ordered it 2 years ago, still haven't gotten it. But hey, these things happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at how I schedule, and hopefully this will help you schedule things, but we're going to look at it as in how I do my videos. Now, of course, a lot of you are saying,
but I don't do videos.
But I'm certain that you have big events that you do. Events that are like these huge things which you have to think about. How am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Is there an easy way to do this? And I'm going to tell you there really is. It is more than just, here's where the event happens. But to do this, we need to jump over to the computer so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, let's jump into what I really need to think about. One of the biggest events that I have is Christmas. So using this spreadsheet, we can work backwards. So what I know is I know that this date, this equals that minus 14. And that should be the same exact minus 16. My bad. The edit date, and this is what's cool about this. Once you set this up, the outro date is usually the same thing. The video date is going to be that 7. Prep date will be this date minus, let's say, give it a week. Bad. 7. This is where I made a mistake. This should actually be 14. This. Alright. So now you can see very easily how I've set this up. And you can see where the dates are. What's really cool about using a spreadsheet like this, I can copy, paste that there. Turn this to Halloween, if I can spell, and I can change one date, and that date becomes October 5th. So this becomes, this becomes 10/5. And see how suddenly all of those dates change, and I have the dates that I need. And you can see how early this planning needs to take place, is that it needs to start by July 16th. I need to start planning my Halloween video. Even though it doesn't get recorded, I'm not going to start recording it until September. I need to have that time and all those things in place. Now, looking at just those two events, like I said, I don't want to show you too much because I have a lot of ideas coming up and things, but just using the simple spreadsheet, you can convert that over to a spreadsheet and figure out if you have ongoing things, like I do. I have lots of videos I have to be planning and trying to keep ahead of them and trying to keep track of them. So one of the things which I do is I don't just write in the date of, here's the event, this is when it's going to happen, and that's it. No, I'm looking at this as in, this is the date, and that is when it's going to happen, and that's the only thing I have to worry about. No, I have to look at these things and check them ongoing, because there are so many videos which overlap and that sort of thing, and that's probably what happens with your life. I can very easily take these dates and put them into my calendar, or I could just have them populate from my spreadsheet onto my calendar, and it just makes life so much easier. Now, one of the big things that I love to do, and I really do love to do this, is at the end of the month, I always look and see, what have I done? Did I get everything done that I wanted with the month? I go back and sort of do an assessment so that way I can see, yes, everything is moving on track, we're doing fine, these things need to be taken care of, but once a month it gives me a chance to really look at where I've come, how I've done, and that sort of thing. Then at the beginning of the month, or even in that same session, I will look at what's coming up this coming month. What things do I need to be, thinking about? What things do I need to be looking at? And by having all of these plans in place, I can do this much easier. Now you're saying,
well, what does that have to do with anything?
Think about birthdays and anniversaries and all of those things, where yeah, you can put yourself reminders on your calendar, or you could just have this automatically set up so that you can then know that, hey, every year this is what happens on this date. And that's really nice to do, the automatic reminders on your calendar of, especially like events, so you're not just doing the whole, there's a birthday coming up in a week. Well, that's great. I should have bought a present for that birthday a month ago. No. Have lots of reminders, have lots of ways of checking your schedule, because the one thing which you're going to find is to live a nice, comfortable, relaxed life, you're going to want to stay ahead of things. The further you are ahead of things, the less likely you are running around at midnight the night before of an event trying to get everything done. Instead, you're like, oh, this is easy. I knew that this was coming up weeks ago. I did what I needed to do. That's the big thing. Because just because you knew it was coming up weeks ago and you didn't do anything, that's not really helpful. I know lots of people who've done the whole,
well, I just put off getting the stuff that I needed until the event was here.
How does that help you? To me, that would stress me out, because as you know, I'm a wonderful person for checking off little boxes of things that I've done. I like to make sure that all of my events are covered, all of those things, so that way the day of the event, or even a couple days before the event, I'm not doing those horrible things. This Christmas that has just passed, all of the stuff which we needed for Christmas, all of those things, were in the house the week before Christmas. The turkey was defrosting. Life was going very easily, so that way when Christmas came up, no problems. New Year's comes up, no problems. Anything which you can plan ahead, anything which you can do ahead, go ahead and do those things ahead. This is why people who do meal planning, people who do all of their event planning way ahead of time, they sort of stroll through these things effortlessly. This is what I want your year to be, very effortless. And the way to make it effortless is to do a lot of planning. Now, for those of you who are saying,
well, that is way too much work. Way too much work.
Is it? I mean, the whole big thing about this is, if you think it's too much work for you to do to plan ahead, how much work is it for you to do to try to make things work out at the last minute? That can be horrendous. Now, some of these things don't have to be that far planned ahead, which is really cool, because that's one of those things you're just like,
hey, I don't need that much planning.
Or even better,
I did all that planning and all that work, and on the day of the event, it was so easy. Oh, that was the whole idea.
If you can just get it done, if you know that you're going to buy this present for that person and you have that present already bought, where's the problem in that? I actually see that as a massive win, and I do mean a massive win. So, what do you do? How do you plan your year? This is the best time to do that. Do it now, early enough, so that you can then decide if these things are going to work out, if these things are not going to work out. When do you need to get stuff done? When do you need the building blocks to go in there, so that that way, when it all comes down to it, instead of running around at the last minute, you are just relaxed and calm and can enjoy the whole process of it. And that's what I want. We want relaxed, calm, comfortable for your whole entire year. I'd like to take this moment to thank my patrons. They really help make this channel go, and they're one of my neighbors that help keep things going and keep us with new videos and new ideas. If you're interested in joining Patreon and being part of the neighbors, go ahead and check out Patreon. It's a great place to support this channel and help me with the videos that I do. Well, let me know what you thought about that down in the comments, and I hope I get to see you again the next time you stop by.